If someone had told me that when I first got divorced, I wouldn't necessarily have the capacity to manage both my emotions and my child's emotions, I probably wouldn't have believed them. But I really think it is something that parents don't talk about, or divorced parents don't talk about in their journey through divorce, right? Is how am I going to manage the grief and emotions that I am feeling separate and apart from the grief and emotions that my child is having, right? And I did the therapy. I went to therapy. I cried on a therapist's couch for a long time, and my child had counselors throughout her, her adolescence into her, her childhood, adolescence, and into her teen years. However, the amount of support that is needed is never enough. I think that's the key piece, right? We can always have, family members who kind of fill in the gap. We can always have friends who can fill in the gap. But the true and honest thing I can tell you is that you're never going to be able to fill the hole of the other parent. And so what's sad is if that parent is no contact, or if that child has decided to go no contact, it doesn't mean that they don't have the desire for a relationship with that parent. It just means that the relationship with that parent was untenable in a way that could not be sustained, if I'm being honest about it. Someone recently asked me, and it was a colleague at work, and she felt like, you could immediately tell that she felt bad that she had asked, and she was like, oh, in the holidays, do you have to do this whole swap with your daughter, with your ex-husband? And I said, no, we are 100% no contact. And you could hear her on the phone go, oh, I'm so sorry for asking that question. And I said, no, it's okay. I talk about these things openly and honestly, even if they're uncomfortable, because I don't believe in shame and pain around divorce. The circumstances are what they are, and it is what it is, and I'm working and navigating myself and my child through them. But that doesn't mean I can't talk about it, right? It's unpleasant. It sometimes feels a little icky, super embarrassed early on. And now I just kind of have this notion of, these are things that are a part of life, and some of us have to deal with them, and it is part of the human condition. And not talking about it doesn't serve me or others any better when they don't know, or they don't understand, or maybe they do, because she had actually brought it up because she was a child of divorce herself and had to do that swap back and forth between parents. And I said, I've had to do that swap back and forth between parents. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, my daughter does not. Hope that helps.